Have you ever been in love? Isn't it honestly the best feeling in the world?
And have you ever thought that that guy or that girl was absolutely perfect and you were meant for them and they were meant for you, but turns out you guys were nothing alike in the first place and only realizing after the heartbreak later it was for the best? I understand how it feels to be infatuated. It's very blindsided and easily mistaken for love. My personal love life is kind of great right now, but in middle school, if you knew me and who I was obsessed with, I apologize, because that was definitely infatuation. I was just obsessed with the fact I could finally have a boyfriend, just like all preteen girls were at the time. Don't tell me you weren't either. Love is the best description for something we care deeply passionate for. Either it be a person, object, place, or thing. Or could your definition be mistaken for having infatuation lust for someone or something? A book I read for the nonfiction assignment in class called We Should Hang Out Sometime by Josh Sundquist is about himself and how he could never get a girlfriend until he was 24. The main idea was just finally gaining confidence to ask a girl out. It's not that he was ugly or not likable, he just never believed he was good enough deep down. Also, considering he only had one leg because of cancer. He found out how to love himself, and the theme of the novel, I believe, is just learning lessons from past relationships. Foolish ones always have the best lessons and meanings. I connected very well with the story of my own life. Because I know I've learned something from every ex-love, even if it wasn't real love. I understand how to love the right way. Every mistake is just a lesson. Do you remember reading William Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet our freshman year? It's a tragic love story, right? But were they actually ever in love? They were both young teenagers who never experienced love before. They were mostly intrigued by the suspense between both of their parents hating each other. It can be argued what they had was real love, but based on what I know, I believe only Juliet could have been. Romeo was infatuated, because he was in love with Rosaline first, but then he saw Juliet and was suddenly in love with her. He confesses to confusing real love with just physical attraction. Did my heart love until now? Forswear its sight, for I never saw true beauty till this night. Act 2, Scene 3, page 68 and 69 of William Shakespeare's screenplay, Romeo and Juliet. Juliet's infatuation was also based on looks at first, but when Romeo kills her cousin Tybalt, it gives her a chance to choose whether or not she loves him. She makes a reasoned conclusion that he must have done it out of self-defense, and she continues to loving and trusting him. There are so many different ways to love someone, and I'm not talking the love you feel for your family, pets, or friends. I'm talking about the love you feel for someone romantically. Now, let's talk about the three main types of romantic love: intimacy, commitment, and passion. I believe Juliet had a mix of all three for Romeo, but he probably had more passion for her. The three different types of love have different components to them. The amount of love you get depends on the strength each three has. Passionate love is described as love at first sight, based on sexual desire without intimacy and commitment. Examples are daydreaming about their partner. They see what they want to see. This love really is blind. It may work under the conditions of always fixing issues that constantly happen. Romantic love is a mix between passionate love added with intimacy. It contains the belief that love is faded and uncontrollable, with the mixed feelings of agony and ecstasy. An example of this love is when you guys have some unresolved tension that never seems to get fixed, but you always have passion and love towards them. Compassionate love is when commitment is added to intimacy. There's a deep attachment that is based on familiarity with a loved one. They want to fix conflicts. There's an ongoing commitment to nurture and care for their partner, even during hard times. According to the article I read by Beverly Palmer called Love. Now that you know the three different types of love, would you consider yourself ready to be in a happy and healthy relationship? Maybe you already are. But have you considered making it better? An article I read by Angela Barrett about a Buddhist perspective that listed guides and principles for relationships to help people understand their behaviors. 7 steps that might help you understand yourself and your partner more. For further understanding of love, you need to know how to love yourself first. How can you love someone when you don't even know what you need? First, you need to understand there will always be change in your relationship and in your partner. You aren't the same person you were a year ago. No matter how old you are, humans are indefinite to change. The expectation that someone will keep you happy is a major cause of suffering in many relationships. It's easy to accept change for the better, but the response to a negative change determines that level of relationship satisfaction. Secondly, notice everything happens is temporary. Expect different seasons in the relationship. If you understand the bad times, it'll make the good times greater. The third step is to check your expectations. We expect a lot from our partners. Connected to the third, fourthly, we need to notice negative thoughts. Not all of our thoughts are trustworthy or true. They can be helpful sometimes, but they can also sabotage our relationships. We assume the worst usually. Fifthly, we need to emphasize the positive more often. Talking bad about your partner to a friend might feel good for a moment, but when you continuously do it, it keeps us in a rut, and you will fail to see them or the situation differently. The sixth idea to keep a happy and healthy relationship is to work on forgiveness. More simply, by just letting go of the past. This last and seventh step, to see your partner with beginner's eyes. As you and the relationship start to mature, you start seeing them for who they really are. Seeing them in this fixed mindset ignites boredom and the same old person. Be curious about your partner by perceiving them as a mystery. It keeps the relationship fierce and alive. With that said, do you notice some of the things I found true about you or your partner? If you both value the same idea of a future, your relationship should last as long as you sentimentally want it to. Have I made you fall in love with my speech or infatuated your mind with very interesting, very relatable, and useful content? Probably not, but maybe I persuaded you to fall in love the right way and understand the difference between love and infatuation. Being love is equal. We're not one-sided in giving more than they do. When you'll choose them because you're lonely and the only idea you perceive of them is true and not them, I'm pretty sure you're being infatuated. But maybe the next time you get into a relationship, you'll think about the signs of infatuation and really falling in love.
I'm ending the speech with a cheesy quote I found on Google, written by some emo kid probably in 2008. Infatuation is when you find someone absolutely perfect. Love is realizing they're not perfect. And it doesn't matter because they're perfect to you. Maybe the cheese will stick.